The days are getting we're gonna start that over. The days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer. It is now officially the off season in triathlon for most everyone in the Northern Hemisphere. And so what are you gonna do for training? Well, I would imagine you're not gonna stop, but for a lot of people, it means an increased focus on strength. So today we are going to talk about the 7 most important core exercises to do year-round, but very important to build on in your off-season. Hi, I am retired professional triathlete TJ Tollakson, CEO of Dimond Bikes, and today it's all about the core strength. So when we're talking about core, a lot of people just think abs and stuff, but we're actually going to talk about 7 exercises, strength exercises that you need that actually balance most of your core. So these exercises you can do in just about anywhere. You don't need to be in workout clothes, and you look at me in jeans and a t-shirt, I can do these just fine. And let's get started. So the number 1 exercise right here is going to be a squat. And there's 2 variations of this that I like to do. You can do single leg squats, but if you're like me and you've had a couple knee surgeries, you should probably avoid doing the single leg squats for the extra pressure it puts on your knee. And so then you look at this squat, which is a push out squat. Okay, so you're gonna do this, you're gonna squat down, at the same time you squat out, you're gonna push out. Now, if I'm holding a weight in my hand, which you don't need, but you can use, you're gonna push the weight out as you squat down. So it simply looks like this. You wanna get nice and deep, squat all the way down, come straight back up.
Well, that seems simple enough.
That's our squat. Number 2 exercise, well, let's talk about what a squat does, okay? You can see as you're coming down, okay, it's really strengthening your quads are engaged, your hamstrings, but then the big one right here, you start to feel those glutes engaged, and that's what you're gonna use, those glutes. So when we talk about our glutes, why is it important? Again, when we're running, we're using our quads a ton. Cycling, we're using our quads, you're using your abs to bend forward. And we need to make sure that the posterior chain stays really strong. What is the posterior chain? You might have heard that term thrown around a little bit, but your posterior chain starts with your back. It comes down through your glutes, down to your hamstrings, down to your calf muscles, okay? And this is really important just in terms of posture and stability. So now when we're bent over in the aero bar, we're riding our bike like this, we're not strengthening our posterior chain when we do that, but we're using our posterior chain to hold that. So strengthening your posterior chain is a great way to make sure that you can stay in that aero position for longer, but also helps you have a nice forward lean when you run. If you think about Craig Alexander running with his immaculate run form, you can see he's got a great posterior chain. There you go, Craig.
Yeah, don't let it go to your head.
So posterior chain strengthening is really good. So we're gonna look at that, and then we're gonna look at some hip stability as well, because these are things that I think are important for every athlete kind of year round. Okay, so that's the squat. The number 2 item on here is going to be the single leg deadlift. And that looks just like this. You're gonna stand on one leg, you're gonna slightly bend your knees, so your knee's over the front of your toe. You're gonna try to make sure your knee tracks straight when you do this. Put your leg behind you, bend straight up. But you can do reps of those on both your left side and your right side. And again, this is great for your balance, coordination, ankle stability, hip stability, and overall just your posterior chain strength. The next one, we're gonna talk about lunges or...
The suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
Split squats, okay? Now I know this is confusing because a lot of people think these are the same things. So right now I'm gonna show you a lunge. This is a lunge, and I'm using both legs when I do this, the front leg and the back leg. Boom, that's a lunge. What's the difference between a lunge and a split squat? Well, the split squat looks like this. I'm actually gonna start in this position, and then I'm just going to lower one leg to the ground. So the split squat, I'm actually focused on this leg, not this leg, right? So this is my split squat. If you want a more developed split squat, you wanna go ahead, put your foot on something high behind you, work the same way, dip this knee straight to the ground, okay? That's a really good deep split squat right there.
Really nice.
The important thing is that you're doing these movements to improve your posterior chain and your stability. eccentric calf raises. Okay, so this one you're gonna need something elevated. You can use a step or a stair. I'm actually gonna use this table because I put it right here. You can see this is a nice little table. And this is how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hold on to something just a little bit higher. I'm gonna stand on one leg. I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna come up. So eccentric means that I'm actually going down below where I would start. And this is really important. Anybody out there ever have plantar fasciitis or Achilles tendonitis? This is an exercise that not only helps cure that, but helps prevent that in the first place. So the great thing about the eccentric calf raise, when you're going down below zero, you're down in this stretched mode, it's actually providing a ton of strength to your ankle because your ankle's in this vulnerable position where it's having to stabilize as you do that calf raise. You noticed I was holding onto this wall here slightly for balance, which is really important. But the eccentric calf raise is a great exercise because it's also the power generation on the bike and on the run. So when you're actually thinking about getting up on your toes and sprinting, having the strength in your calf to do that is really good. And you got to remember that this is the very bottom of our posterior chain, so it's all connected. The next thing is called a hip hike. And I'm going to try to show you this from the front, but I'm going to do it here off the side of this. I'm actually going to go over here. We still good? So what I want to do, and I don't need to do it on here, it's just somewhat easier to see what it looks like. But I want to bend this knee slightly like this, keep this one straight. And I'm just gonna go down and I'm gonna dip my hip and then I'm gonna raise it up again, okay? And now I'm gonna show you what this looks like when you're on the ground too. So say you don't have something like this to do. So again, you wanna bend one knee and then you wanna put your other foot behind you. And this is really great in terms of balance. So what you wanna do is slightly bend that hip to the side and you wanna try to keep everything in one plane here. And then you're gonna raise it up to the other side. Come back down, bend your hip, right back up. And you can see this whole time you're trying to stabilize through your ankle, through your knee. This is a great thing. If you have IT band problems, that hip hike is a great thing. But what it does is it strengthens your glute medius, okay? So your glute medius are really important when you're talking about run stabilization, but it's also really important for that IT band. If you have chronic IT band problems, this is something that is not going to stretch your IT band, but it's going to strengthen the muscles around your IT band, which is really important.
Far out.
So those are hip hikes. The next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna get on the ground. You see I have this little mat next to me here, so you're gonna see I'm gonna lay on the ground. And so the first thing that we're gonna do are just clam shells. And I said you don't need a weight for this. What you wanna do is you wanna stack your hips so they're even. Put your knees and your feet together. Bend them at a 90-degree angle. And then you're just going to raise and lower. This is what you're going to do. And so this is actually strengthening your abductor muscles right here, which is really important for stability while you're running. And if you get more advanced, what you want to do instead of a weight is you want to put a stretch band around your knees to provide extra resistance to that. But you can see just doing this exercise right here is super important. It does not just your abductors, but it also is going to tighten your glute medius at the same time. This is really important. You want to do both sides. The last exercise while I'm here on the ground is going to be the single leg glute bridge. And so most of you know what it looks like to do a glute bridge, which is just this, right? So we just want to go up here, hold it, briefly come down. But single leg is even better because we have some more isolation and there's very low impact to your knees when you're doing this. So your single leg glute bridge looks just like this. Come down, come up. This is actually a great opportunity if you know what the term nerve flossing is, which is strengthening as you're tightening. So one of the cool things you can do is you can actually nerve floss while you do this by pointing your toe and flexing your toe as you're doing each rep. If you want the harder version of this.
Oh, I see it. Oh, this is going to be easy.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna actually put your legs up on something high. And the higher, you can see my legs right now are pretty close to 90 degrees. You don't wanna go much higher than that. Lower is going to be easier, higher is going to be harder, but it's gonna be the same thing. You're just gonna keep one leg straight and you're going to glute bridge from this position. And this is really going to engage that hamstring and those glutes all at the same time. All right, so there you have my 7 exercises. I'll get up from the ground, dust myself off, we're ready to go. So we're gonna talk about reps. I'm a huge fan of 3 reps of 10, okay? But I also say that it's nearly identical if you do 2 reps of 15, okay? So whether you're doing 3 sets of 10 or 2 reps of 15, I don't have a huge difference. The important thing is that you're doing these and you're doing these regularly. But it's a starting place, and you wanna try to build on this strength and do things that are more challenging, like move from single leg on the ground or double legs on the ground to single legs at 90 degrees to get yourself really strong. These are my biggest advice tips for you in the off season to get strong and get ready. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer you. If you enjoyed this video, you want to see more of it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I've got all kinds of great Ironman tips on training, nutrition, racing, amazing content. I would love for you to join me on this journey. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Check it out every week.